Our activity for today is around the bonds of 10. And this means that it's the numbers that add together to make 10, like 7 and 3, 6 and 4, etc. Now, we pay particular attention to 10 because 10, our number system is based on 10. And if we know things about the bonds of 10, there's a lot we can do with it. For example, if we know 6 plus 4 is 10, we know 26 plus 4 is 30, we know 56 plus 4 is 60, and we also know that 60 plus 40 is 100, and 600 plus 400 is 1,000. So the fact that our number system is based on 10 means that's a very important number for us. And so we want our learners to be very familiar with the bonds of 10 very nicely and quickly. So the activity you're going to do, you're going to have a sort of version for yourself, and you also want all your learners in your class to be working with a version of it. So what each of you need to display it is you need your 10 frame. So that's basically that little sort of 5 blocks and 5 blocks arranged. And that's a really nice arrangement for being able to see the kind of structure of our numbers. And I'll show you what I mean by that now. And then you're going to need counters to put into that 10 frame. And so are your learners. And then you're going to need your little bond house, which is really just a little table in which we're going to record all our bonds of 10. So I suggest you have one, a big version, and then your learners work in little pairs where each of them have the sort of 10 frame and the bond house. So everybody in the class can follow along and work with you. You can tell your class a story that goes as follows. So tell them that, that 10 frame is like a box for putting in little cupcakes. And you've got 10 people at the party, so you need to have 10 cupcakes at the party. And you send your brother off to go and buy cupcakes, and he comes back and he's only bought 7 cupcakes. So this is what you have, and you put the counters in so that they can see the 7 cupcakes in the box. And then you can ask them, all right, so my brother bought how many cupcakes? 7. But I've got 10 people who want cupcakes. How many am I short? And they can see quite easily that the gaps there are 3. And so we know then that 7 and 3 go together to make 10. And so you want to record that in your bond house, and you want your learners to record that in their little bond house. Now, here is one thing I just want to point out. You can go and show, oh, my brother bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cupcakes. And then go and say, now what's missing, and count the 1, 2, 3 spaces. But remember, one of our key aims is we're wanting to move our learners on from counting in ones to being able to be confident with numbers and calculate easily. And so we don't want to encourage them to go and do everything by counting it in one. So if we demonstrate it by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, by putting it slowly in like that, we're going to encourage that counting in ones. So what's the alternative? Well, you see, the very reason we use that 10 frame is to start to give them a really nice structured picture of what 7 looks like. So you can see very easily here, if you just plonk those counters in and then say, okay, how many counters do I have here? And you can easily just point with your hand and say, all right, we can see we've got 5 here, and then we've got 2 more here. In total, we have 7. So you're encouraging them to start to see 7 as 5 and 2 more, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And similarly, when you want to see what's missing, we don't want to encourage them to go 1, 2, 3. By this stage, our learners should be able to look at that picture there and see that it is 3. So let's move away from counting in ones and encourage that kind of just seeing what the number is. Okay, so you're going to do a whole lot of these until you've filled up all the bonds of 10. So you might do another one where you put 4 in, and they need to then say, okay, so your brother went off, they got 4 cakes this time. how many are missing if your party is actually needing 10 cakes? And you can see quite easily that it is 6 cakes that are missing. And they must also record that in their little bond house. You can then hand over to them and say, okay, why don't you guys imagine that my brother just bought 3 cakes? So they put 3 cakes into their box, and then you say to them, now, how many are missing? And they can easily see that what is missing is 7, and you also write that into your bond house. So you want to make sure that you go through and get all the different bonds of 10. So that means you need to make sure that you've got all the numbers from 0 through to 10 on the left-hand side. And then obviously their corresponding bond on the right-hand side. Once you've got all of that there through working with your learners on it, you might want to point out a little thing like, hey guys, of course you can see if it's 2 cakes and 8 missing, obviously it'll be 8 cakes and 2 missing, right? 2 plus 8 is 10, 8 plus 2 is 10. So just making some of those connections. And of course, don't forget, this one might be less obvious to people, right? That if your brother bought 10 cakes, there are no cakes missing. So 10 plus 0 makes 10. And obviously, if your brother went and bought no cakes, there are 10 cakes missing. So 0 plus 10 is equal to 10. So this is just a way of just making sure our learners can see the numbers and can see what 2 numbers go together to make 10. So I suggest now you just pause and prepare, get your large number house ready, your 10 frame and your big counters ready, so you've got stuff to demo, and then all your learners will have the similar things for them to work with, so that they can also work alongside you on it.